Hi everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Relatable. I am your host, Stephanie Michelle. We're going to be talking about stories today. And so we all tell stories, we all have tons of stories that make up who we are. Some of them are true, some of them are not so true, and some of them are a combination of both. They can be inspirational, they can be painful, and some are just full of the ups and downs that are part of us just being human, just the total human experience. In a not so far off previous life, I was a teacher for a digital marketing course. And I had a student who I thought was such a bright student, great student, asked the best questions, but she was having trouble in the course. And so she pulled me aside after the class and said, I'm having trouble. And she proceeded to tell me this story about when she was growing up, her siblings were always the ones that were the smart ones. Everybody talked about how smart they were. And they would say to her, she's not so smart, or she was challenged to learn. And when I told her, I was like, that's not how I'm experiencing you at all. You're actually one of my brightest students. And maybe the story that you're telling yourself is no longer serving you. And she went, she thought about it for a minute, and then we made a plan for her to really get what she needed, or for me to teach in a different way so she'd get what she needed. And so the rest of the course, I watched her sort of struggle with that old story and then come into the joy of the new story. And by the end of the course, she was my best student, and it was just a great experience. So, what are the stories? I didn't really challenge everybody to think about this. What are the stories that you're telling yourself right now that are causing you pain? And do they come from your childhood? Are they stories about God or faith or family? What stories are no longer serving you? As you listen to me and my guests talk about this, review some of your own stories, and I challenge you to think about, rethink some of the stories in your life. If you're watching via Facebook Live, here's a question to ponder. What stories were you told as a child that you've already had to unlearn? Now, let's meet my guest so we can talk about this further. So this is Jakera Cooper. She is a personal coach who challenges people to identify with what they want emotionally, personally, spiritually, and professionally. Her mission is to help people realize their true selves through having a real and authentic relationship with God. She wants to inspire communities of people to discover who they are, celebrate and support each other. And dream wildly enough to believe that anything is truly possible.
Yes. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm so happy to be here.
I know, I'm so excited to have you here. So we're going to talk about stories, but I always let the guests kind of clear anything that they need to get off their chest before we dive into the topic. So is there anything that you just feel like, I got to put this out, I want to share before we get into what we're going to talk about today?
I think what I was thinking about on the way here was just to show up to anything that inspires you. So showing up is really important in life, whether that's showing up to, a doctor's appointment, like your annual checkup, whether that's showing up to your friend's birthday party, showing up to the next opportunity in life. I think just showing up even when you don't feel well, or maybe when your mind isn't necessarily all there. If your mind is scattered, I think showing up is just really important because you start to create a trusting relationship with yourself. If you don't show up, then your mind and your heart are at conflict. So I think just showing up is really important, and I wanted to just share that this morning.
Yeah, I love that. Yes. You would have loved, so one of the first episodes that I did, this is the second year I've been doing the show, I had somebody ghost me. They didn't show up. And I did the whole thing by myself talking about that, and with this message, it's just like show up, what do you have to lose? And it is a process of trusting yourself. Like if you felt like this was something that you didn't want to do, this particular person we had met on a dating app, and we were going to talk about the woes and ups and downs. And for whatever reason, he didn't feel safe enough. What was I, look at me, what was I going to do to him?
In your studio,
So anyhow, but I agree. I agree. It's really important. And you can always say if you're showing up and you're not feeling your best self, whatever, you tell people that. Hey, I'm a little vulnerable today. I'm not feeling great, but I really want to be here because I committed. That's the other thing too, right?
Commit to it.
Yeah, it's important. I agree. All right. Well, we are just meeting for the first time, but we had a talk on the phone, and then I got to spend some time looking at your website, and one of the things that I pulled out that just instantly connects me to you is how you define yourself as a work in progress.
Yes.
I do too.
Always.
Like,
always.
Tell me more about how you identify with that phrase. Like, how did you learn to accept that?
I think when I, going through high school, going through college, you're in this bubble of so maybe some people have the luxury of growing up in a space where you're good at what you do. You're just a really, even I was an average student, so I wasn't an exceptional student, but I was average. Even in college, everything came easy. I was able to make connections. I was able to do a lot of things and be an influence on my campus. And so moving all the way out from New York to California, where you're not on a campus, when you're not under your parents' roof, when you have no direction and you don't know which way to go, the first year here was very humbling because I did not perform well. And especially when I was working at a Fortune 500 company and the expectation is to deliver, and I wasn't delivering to what I thought I should deliver to, it was very difficult. It was a year that was like my darkest year because I felt for the longest that I needed to prove myself to people. And as women, I feel like we have that extra pressure to prove ourselves and to do a million things at once and to always be juggling and to be excellent in everything.
And never ever complain.
Yeah, and never complain. Never have a bad day. Never ask for a raise or any, never ask for more.
Don't talk about cramps or any of the real stuff that's going on.
Don't talk about anything real. Just come in and do what you need and go home. So it was the darkest year of my life, and I kind of had to hit a point where, like, this isn't me. So that's another lie that we can talk about later. Just, this isn't who I am. I think it takes a noticing, like, I was this before and now I'm this, and this is not me. And so I had to sit down with myself, all by myself. I had no family, and I really was still learning, so I didn't really have too many friends here. So sitting down and saying, this isn't me, so I need to figure out how to get back to my original self, and notice that I have to learn first. I can't just jump in and be great at everything. It doesn't always come easy, and I have to position myself to be in a posture of learning. I was always delegated the leader. I was always delegated, you know what you're doing, so you can do it. But then when it's kind of like, Jakera, I'm going to take this from you because it seems like it's overwhelming you. My ego, my pride, what do you mean I can't perform? So then it was just a battle. So how do I unravel that battle? Is just to realize that I'm a work in progress. It's actually more about the journey than it is about the destination. So much comes up for me in what you just shared. A couple of things. So, I talk about it a lot on the show. Everything that we're doing, even how we're learning camera and audio equipment on the show, is live momentum. And it is.
And sometimes, in our first ones, there's things that weren't great. They weren't perfect. And I'd have people say, "Oh, that was terrible." And I'm like, "Hey, please celebrate our momentum. Please celebrate the journey and the line that we're on." Like, I'm not saying this is a perfect thing. There is no thing. There is no perfection. Life is beautiful and messy, and aiming for perfection is just going to leave you with disappointment. So celebrating the momentum of being a work in progress.
Celebrating the small wins. I think we just need to not necessarily focus on the end result, and I think that's what we live on. It's just like the end result of everything, and we don't see the behind work.
And then the other thing that you said in there that really resonated with me is the lesson of learning how to ask for help, or before someone, so someone could, in your story you said someone took something off your plate, and I think the sooner we learn how to ask for help, the easier life gets, because our energy is not sustainable just giving it out all the time. So you can't just do all the time and not have any of that pour back into you. There's no superhuman that is that can do that. So that's another big one that I think you have to learn.
When it comes to asking for help, whenever I went on job interviews, they would ask, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? My weakness has always been, and I would, say this all the time, is just I have a problem with asking for help. And that may not be the best thing to say in an interview, but I was being honest, because I'm letting you know that should I come on your team, there has to be a coaching, there has to be a realization that she is going to do whatever it takes to get this done without asking for help. So I need to be there and ask and coach her through that. So I have always had even when I first learned how to tie my shoe, I would sit in the corner. I learned it once, and then I would sit in the corner all day. I would not ask for help until I figured it out. So that has been my personality up until today. It's just like, no, I want to do it. Like, I just want to learn, and I there's a good and a bad to it. I want to learn up to a certain point, because then I'm drowning, and then I'm asking for help when it's too late.
Yeah, if you're learning, if you're always taking on learning to a point where you're drained and fatigued and down on yourself, like kind of having more of a negative conversation with yourself because you're not getting it as fast enough. Enough is always in that conversation, right?
Enough,
I'm not doing enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty. Like
all the enough.
That enough word is it's
enough.
just like a little grenade. It's enough with that enough.
Yes.
But so there's a point where you just have to stop and go, okay, you know, maybe it's time, or maybe I need to do this in a different way.
Yeah.
So you also talked about in your work overcoming loneliness. Can you talk to me about that?
Like I mentioned, when I first moved here, it was very hard to get connected. And I think it's just definitely a culture shock coming from the East Coast to West Coast in general. So coming here was definitely a learning curve. And I am very introverted. I am energized by reading, by just contemplating, by just being in silence. I love, that is my groove, that is my thing. I'm energized by that, and then I'm energized to then go and give. I'm more of a one-on-one person. I don't necessarily jive with crowds. I like to relate. So I kind of had to break that at some point. I kind of said, okay, Jakera, you're going to be in this space by yourself. You're not meant to do life alone, and that's what I always tell people. It's like, you're not created, so it's not okay to be okay with being a loner. It's not okay. That's not okay. It shouldn't feel comfortable to be like, well, that's just who I am. People don't understand me, so this is okay. It's not okay, because there's going to be people that can relate to you, who understand you. You just have to put yourself in a position to meet them. And to be clear, we're not talking about, it's okay to have alone time. Yes, alone time.
Alone time is sometimes regenerating. I think as an introvert, you probably do like your alone time. I spend a lot of time alone, and it's rejuvenating, like I need it. But to go through life completely alone without anybody to reflect back and say, you're great, or you're doing a good job, or I see you, I know what you're up to, and I appreciate that. That's what we're talking about.
We need our cheerleaders, and I always talk about finding your tribe. Find, even if it's one person, just find someone to be your coach, to be your sounding board, to be someone that is celebrating your wins and there when you're feeling low. Like, you need someone.
So in coming here, so you moved away from your family, you didn't have family and friends, it's in a way starting over, right? Where were some of the first places that you went for community and to find friends?
I did a lot of apps like Meetup. I went to events on Eventbrite. So I just I typed in women, because I love to just be around women, or networking events. And so I'm definitely big on, I didn't want to move here and then just become friends with people that I worked with, because I don't like friends that are by circumstances, because I'm here, I don't know if I would have met you.
Happenstance.
Happenstance. So I wanted to make friends that I was able to source and really organically, fall in friendship with. So I would force myself sometimes, and I would show up, and I would, buy my tickets. I would get tickets that were not free. Because I knew that if I spent money on the ticket, I would go. If it was free.
That's a good point. Especially in LA, because nobody commits.
Nobody commits.
Commit to buying the ticket, then you're going to show up.
And if you're an event planner, charge, even if it's a small charge, because people will show up more. And so I bought the tickets that it would cost me a little bit of money, so I would go and commit to it. And I would be there by myself. I would be forced to have conversations, especially when I showed up early. And I'm a person that I like to show up on time for the event. The mixing and mingling, I don't know if it's a New York thing, I'm just I'm in, I'm out, I'm going to talk to these people. I already sourced it. I know
you're scanning there.
I talked to her, and I'm out. So I would show up early. I had to make myself, I had to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's kind of how I started to
And now
grow.
You're more uncomfortable. Now you're more comfortable with those processes.
And so and I would be comfortable. I had a couple people that I connected with after, and I still wouldn't even invite them to the events that I would go to, because I'm I can't get comfortable with me and Steph going to an event and I just talk to you the whole time. It's counterproductive to my goal was to connect And sometimes when you bring a friend that you know, it's like bringing your phone.
Too easy.
It's like having your phone out. You can we can just talk the whole time and miss the whole, and not be present.
Would you ever prepare a question or something that you would ask at these things to have more of a?
Yes, so preparation, I would really look at, even if it's like a panel or a talk, I would research the people that are going to be on the panel, so that when, you know, people, I may not have known them because I'm not from here.
Yeah.
So when people are talking to me like, oh, did you get her book, or did you, I'm like, So I would at least try to know a little bit about what's going on, who's going to be there. And then if they opened it up to questions, if they had time, I would prepare at least 1 or 2 questions to ask.
Yeah.
To be, to show up, just to be known by the group, and then to have that conversation. If I said something that intrigued or spoke to someone, then they might feel more intrigued to come talk to me after.
That's also a good point too, because that does happen. So if you are the one that's like raises the hand and asks a question, and then 3 other people around you will say, oh, I can relate to that, and then they do come talk to you. Like, I really appreciated you sharing that question. We connected. Yeah.
So it's easier to connect that way when you put it out there, and then people can just come over to you after too, if you're afraid to approach people as well.
Yeah. Great. Well, so I know that you also have a strong faith in God.
Yes.
Did you, when you moved here, did you seek out communities, you know, faith communities? Like, how did that?
Yes, so I grew up in the church back at home. So again, it was just the transition of finding another home that, you know, I felt comfortable in. It's very hard nowadays to find a place where you feel comfortable, where you can relate, and where it doesn't feel like you walk in and everybody's like, oh, you're new, or, oh, you know, or it's super old and crunchy. Sometimes old and crunchy. Like, I just need like I look for places that are alive. Yeah. And sometimes like the homes that I was looking for were very much not. And so it took me a while, and that's also where the loneliness came in. How
many do you think you went to?
I went to a good like 5 or 6.
Yeah. I did the same. I'm asking you this because I've gone through this.
The same thing.
Yeah, and agree with everything that you're saying. And I think it's even harder. So most church community, I mean, first of all, churches need to just revolutionize. Like, they're missing the point on how hungry people are for community.
Yeah. Yes.
And allowing people to be themselves in that community and serve in a way that, like, this is who I am, instead of tell me who I should be, right?
Yeah.
Then the added layer on top of that of being a single woman walking into a church community where there are all these families, and you're your attractive girl, and they're like, it's not like they're gonna like usher you into the queue and like bring you in. Like it's like, because many, and I'm sorry to say this, I mean, I have a strong faith too, but I know how much damage and trauma has been done under the name of religion. But, you know, many, especially in the Christian community, have this, you know, women as the temptress.
Yep.
And you walking into that, you know, you're treated differently. It's horrible.
It is. And like my personal experience, and I was just talking yesterday about this, is just as an African American woman, it's hard for me when I'm looking to, you know, connect or maybe to go speak at a women's event, when I see and I go look at administration and they're all white males. How do you understand?
I don't even like that girl.
You know what I mean? So how? So it's just there's a lot to talk about. And, you know, on top of just revolutionizing and just creating community, I feel like you said it, you hit it right on the head. It's just people want to belong. We are made to belong. And if we don't feel like we belong, we will then let anybody tell us who we are. And so the church should be there to just accept who's willing to at least learn, you know, accept people. And then you love them. And that's what it starts with love. And so I feel like it can be hard. It was hard for me to find a place that I felt comfortable in, enough to where, first of all, people looked like me, were around my age. We also had like single people. It's just hard. It's very hard to find that community. It's very much niche. Like, you don't just go and just find it, and it's like, oh, I love this place. It took me a while. It really did.
I gave up. I'm just going to be honest. I just gave up. I mean, we could have 3 shows on the bad experiences that I had, and I know that there's work that needs to be done there, because again, people are starving for connection. People are starving for something bigger than what is happening on this earth, like meaning in life, which should come through a spiritual community. So they're starving for that, and we're starving to connect. Starving to connect.
So many people are like, I even got an email the other day with the email subject line was lost soul.
Yeah.
I'm like, I wanted to cry. Like
Yeah.
the fact that you identify yourself as being lost, and that's what I feel like the church should be going after.
Yeah. And I can't have this conversation without talking about LGBTQ community too. Like the idea that somebody tells somebody how to be or how they cannot be, and not allows them to be authentically who they are is quite disgusting to me. So church communities that are not embracing people, like we live in a time where like everything, we can see everything that's going on, right?
Because we have social media.
And you know, people want to have identity, and there's lots of differences. We're learning about all these differences right now. We should embrace them and learn how to like channel them in a collective we, as opposed to going, nope, you're different.
No, and that's the
I
thing.
mean, it's just another form of racism, really, like what some communities are doing to this community, and it's not cool. Like,
and I think it's more about just like why do, whether it's because it's also whether it's LGBTQ or another religion, if you have a curiosity, if you have a curiosity about this faith, it should be like welcome, you know, come into this community, learn about us, and we learn about you. It should be, I want to understand more. It should be, you know, how do you identify with yourself, and when did this happen, and like be fascinated with one another. It should be just a back and forth conversation.
Wouldn't it be awesome? I just, this like idea, wouldn't it be awesome if there was like a conference we could go to, and it's just spiritual conference, and like there's Buddhists and there's Muslims and there's Judaism and Christianity, and they're all there and like just learning and growing from each other. Like
we should just, I want to know more. Like I definitely want to know more about everything. Like I just like to learn. So for the church to feel like they have to completely cut off a certain, even it doesn't have, whether it's race, background, creed, sexual orientation, you know, to feel like you have the power or the authority to tell someone no when, you know, the God that you believe in forgave you. It's just, it's backwards.
Totally, 100%. So how do you keep your faith in all of that? Like,
I keep my faith in knowing that I don't necessarily listen to everything. I listen to everything, but I challenge what I'm told. So when I grew up, it was kind of like I was just being fed all of my religion. I really didn't question it. I was young, and going back to school for theology, you know, I'm very challenged by my professors. You know, well, why, you know, who chose the 66 books in the Bible, and why did they choose that? Why there are other pieces of literature that's out there, and why isn't it included? And so how do we know that the Bible is actually God inspired? So I'm very challenged right now in my own faith, and so I'm learning to challenge that. And I learned my faith in college when I was separated from my home church. You know, sometimes it takes separation to be elevated in whatever you're learning, and so I had to find it. You know, it's about the journey of finding my faith. And that's kind of where I am. So I challenge everything, but I kind of, you know, people will email me or text me like, oh, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And, you know, there's the church response, and then there's like, do you want the real, my own human response? Because honestly, at the end of the day, we all don't know. Like we all, like even I asked my professors challenging questions, and they're like, you know, well, this person said this, and this old church father would believe this, but we're all just still learning. So I'm just not necessarily dead set on, you know, what I challenge it, but I still keep my faith, because that's, you know, God chose me. I didn't choose God, but I'm not. It's an evolving. It's evolving, and you have to really consider everything that's happening today.
I mean, like anything else, like the word challenge, like we use challenges to work out our body. We use challenges to bring in any knowledge. Like challenge always, for me, in my experience, brings in clarity. So the challenge is inviting, you know, hey, God to talk to you. You get a message somewhere else, and all of a sudden, like, that's clear to me. That part wasn't clear to me. Now it's clear to me. Now I'm going to have a new challenge, and that's going to get clear. So it's challenge is not a bad word here. I think it's growth, and I think it actually deepens your relationship with God.
It really does.
Where, you know, that church or that community or that person that's really telling you, like, this is how you should take this spiritual information. I can't. We were talking about this off camera today about, like, it's this Just like you said, nobody really knows. So
Yeah.
how can you be so certain? And we all have to go through our own evolution to like, you know, really feel this and be able to experience it and be able to share it. But share it in a conversational way, not do this way. Like,
yeah, it should be and the Bible talks about just doing everything in love. The Bible is a story about love. That's it. It's a story from beginning to end. It's about love. It's about, you know, a God who created man and loved them so much that he just wanted to walk with them, be with them, to relate with them. That's all the God wanted to do. That's all God wanted to do. And so for man to craft up this, I would say, churches can sometimes operate as businesses or like institutions, and to make this churn and burn thing of just like growing and less about relationship and more about numbers, that's where it can get astray, or, you know.
Yeah,
it takes away the story of love.
What comes up for me when you said that is like, who grows out of fear? I mean, really, like, fear keeps you home in a corner, you know, rocking yourself to go, like, I can't do this. But, like, nobody grows in fear. Everybody grows in love.
Everything.
Everything
In you neglect your flower, it's not going to grow.
Yeah.
But you love it, and it'll flourish.
100% agree.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk. So we're talking about stories. We're actually, we just kind of found our way into this without even, you know, being clear that what we're talking about. We have been exposed to stories in our lives that shape us.
Yeah.
And faith is one of these areas. So let's like maybe break it down, like some of the stories personally that you and I have been told in our lives into just about life, you know, what we've learned about ourselves and God. So let's just talk, like what have you had to unlearn or relearn or reevaluate about yourself? Like, so you knew yourself in a certain way as a child, and then all of a sudden, that's not so true anymore. Can you think of something?
I would say something that I had to unlearn quite recently would be knowing that I'm a creative person. I think I was just so hungry for validation and for praise that I would prefer to do things that would get the praise quicker. So meaning like, okay, I can send an email, I can do all these things at work, I can work my way up the ladder, and that would give me more gratification than, because being a creative, like putting on a show, it's a very slow process, very slow and sometimes painful process. And people, you know, for people to see your result, it can take years to see, you know, this is what I dedicated 10 years to doing, as opposed to, you know, streamlining a process at one of the biggest companies in the world. You know, I was so hungry for that, that I was just a person that I'm an achiever. I am, on the DISC assessment, I'm a D, I'm a leader, I'm a delegator, I am, you know, I can do all of it. I'm doing all of it. I'm gonna, you know, conquer the world, basically. And we should have that mentality, but not to where it brings us to a place where we're not supposed to be. So learning most recently that I'm very creative, and that I should not chase the things that give me this validation immediately, or that feeds my esteem most quickly, because being creative actually frees me more.
Yeah.
I was bound to this chasing of people's recognition and all these things, but now learning that, you know, I am not this person. I don't necessarily want to be a CEO. Like, I don't want to grow within a company that does not necessarily care. Like, I moved here to work in HR, and I wanted to be an advocate for employees, but it's very hard to work in that industry where a lot of the HR companies are structured to protect not the people, but you know, they're in position to really protect the company, and that is just dissonance for me. So I'm like, then I would just have to run my own company then, because, like, you know, sometimes I'm that person that's like, if I want to change, I'll just have to be the change. So learning to be a creative and to embrace that has been really challenging, because, you know, it's not yielding anything right now. It's just crickets. So learning that is just something I've had to unlearn.
Yeah. I just can't even tell you how much I relate to you right now, especially on this particular thing. And what just came up in what you said is, you know, I did that in my early career too. Like, I'd worked so hard, you know, for that acknowledgement that I was working hard. And I just had this realization, and we talk about this a lot on the show, that's another form of fast food relating. You know, it's like, it seems like it's going to give you nourishment, but it's not. It's just filling space, and it's going to leave you with a void, and you're not nourished at all.
Yeah.
You know, the only type of validation you need comes from yourself.
Yeah.
And
it comes from within.
And being a creator, be like celebrate like this journeyer, this traveler, like these things where you're like taking the whole life experience and going, this is mine, you know, like this is like exciting, and like I get to do this, like that is where, you know, you get into this really good, feel good relating with yourself and with other people. Like,
and I wanted to ask you, so when you transition from your past life into doing this and being in a more creative space, I'm very curious to know, what were people saying? Like when you talked to people to tell them like, okay, I'm going to make this transition, what do you think?
Yeah.
What were they saying? And then what would you advise people, you know, when it comes to taking in suggestions or the fears of other people, because I think that's really important.
There's 2 layers of this lesson for me. So the first part was, you know, I realized early on in relationships and when I was in my 20s that that I was so content on doing things for that validation that I also was an enabler. That I was just hardcore, straight up textbook enabler.
Wow.
So in my personal life and in my business, my business relationships, like the relationship only existed, and friendships too, only existed based on what I was doing. And when I took it away, no more relationship, right? So I had to kind of go, whoa, you know,
that's not okay.
That's not okay, you know, like that. You know, my experience matters too here, and like, and it took me a while to learn that. I'll be honest with you. I actually, when I first really had to hit that, when that lesson first became part, I was confronted. I had to like really learn it. I went through a breakup. I lived in Dallas, Texas. I looked around and went, ooh, I'm kind of an enabler in every relationship. I gotta go. Like I could have stayed there and tried to work it out. I was like, nope, I'm gonna move on. And then I think the second part of that lesson is, and I'm in it now. There is still if you do this creative thing, you're not going to do the work I need you to do. You know, there's some energies around me and relationships around me that like, hey, oh, okay, it's good and fine that you want to do this thing, but don't let it interfere with my thing. And my thing back to that is, without me as a creator, it's not a sustainable life. If I don't have this energy of I'm doing something that I really believe in, and it brings me joy, and it puts me in the place of an exploration, and you know, it's constantly evolving. I don't have fuel in my tank to do that other stuff. Wow. And I can't, and you know, I'm still with some relationships trying to explain that to them, like, please let me be, you know. And I think part of it is our American work ethic anyways. Like, it's like, you know, work 8 hours, work 40 hours. It's never about time. I mean, at this point in my career, you know, I've had 20 years experience. Like, somebody's getting that. I can make a decision in 10 minutes because of that 20 years. So it's not like I have to spend all eight hours a day to give you a quality resolution, you know. So yeah, I'm still, I'm in that right now. I mean, perfect world, I would just be a creator, you know. I would just be a creator, and I know that every relationship, every client, every, you know, everything that I touched would be so much richer just being
by just doing what you love to do. And that's the fear that I have, is just people living this life of like, I don't even know what it is, the American dream, and really missing out on life itself and letting it pass by. So when I transitioned into just being who I am and doing the things that I want to do, it was hard because, you know, leaving to people who don't understand it, and you're asking for their advice, it can hurt you because you have so many you have people that are saying, yes, go for it, girl, I believe in you. And you have people like, well, what about this and that? But it's like they're projecting their fears.
And their own stories.
Yeah, and their own stories onto you.
Yeah, because most of that is like, you know, I grew up in Michigan, you know, like a very conservative part of Michigan. And it's like, work for the same company, you know, all of your life, get retirement, have some babies, buy a house. I've done none of that. Like, I've done that. So they're like, what do we do with you? We don't understand you. And so sometimes when they're like pushing up against it, it's like, that's your story. Let me have my story. It's okay. Either one of them's right or wrong, but I know that story is not my story. I don't want that story. You know?
I think people should embrace it. Just embrace the what ifs, and I know that the brain is created to protect us, and the brain is created to make sure that we don't do anything that hurts us. And so when we think about trying to explore something else, the brain can also work against your wanting to explore, because the what ifs. I don't know what's going to happen, and we don't like uncertainty. So the brain would rather make a decision. You're going to work for this job because at least I know you're going to get a check, but I don't know what's going to happen if you just have a talk show every day. Where is the money coming from? So it can be people, but it can be internal as well.
Yeah, totally. And that's fear. The brain sometimes is
definitely.
That's why she started this right. We started this show right. That's why you just have to show up. Your brain is still there. Here's the thing about showing up in discomfort or in vulnerability. Your brain, that part of your brain is still there with you. It's not going to let you jump off a cliff, walk through fire, unless you're at a Tony Robbins
convention. Unless you want to.
Yeah, unless you want to. But it's still there to protect you. And like at some point, we have to trust ourselves. Like we have to love ourselves and be real about that. Like love is not just love this selfie picture of me.
It's not the likes that you get.
No, love is this. It's like not. We're not clipping. We're not cutting or editing this at all.
No filters, no nothing.
And it's not perfect, but it's us. Loving this time and this time together enough to just like be real. Yeah, be real about things. So, all right. Well, so that's stories we've told ourselves. We've kind of talked about God. Like, did you have to unlearn some things about your faith and God? Like, is there anything else that?
I'm trying to think. There were a couple of things that's escaping me. When I came into, going from my home church and then coming into a new church, there were a couple of things that I had to unlearn in terms of what the roles in the church would be, or how to interact with different people, or how to treat people. And so like the women's roles in the church and challenging that, and being more, giving women more of a voice in the church, and knowing that we were made to help man. Like we are your helpers. We are we need two sets of wings to fly. We can't just fly with one. So learning about how to speak up, how to introduce. Even when I have gone to churches and introduced myself, it's kind of like, okay, where's your husband, or where's your boyfriend? Why are you talking to me? It's very awkward. It's a very awkward conversation to have with a man in the church. Yeah. And I don't know why that is. Like, I don't know if it's, we're Jezebel or whatever that is, but it's very awkward sometimes. And to be a leader, or to be someone that wants to influence the Christian community, I find it very challenging. So I think what I had to unlearn is just that women do have a space in this faith, and that it just takes a lot of perseverance and a lot of boldness. And I don't think that if I wouldn't have moved here and had to put myself in other situations, other just random networking events, that I would be bold enough to look at an administration of people that don't look like me, who I don't feel like will ever relate to me, and still feel like, okay, well, this is something bigger than me. It's not about me. Sometimes I have to tell myself a lot of the times, it's not about me. It doesn't matter if you get 1 like, 2 likes, 3 views. It's not about me. It's about that one person. So I do it because I know that somebody will find freedom. They will find themselves, their identity, and who they are. And that's something that we talked about that's bigger than themselves, if I get over myself. So it takes a lot of me getting over myself in that. Yeah.
2 more things that I'm feeling from this conversation.
Yes.
I'm really digging this, by the way.
You're like, I love it.
I know. Like,
I love it.
We're related somehow. Yes. We've like been on some journey together. So, women are really needed right now. Like we've always been the ones that are known for nourishment, nourishing and caring and love. Like when you think of who steps into love easier, it's women, and there is nothing wrong with that. No. And we need that energy right now. And like anybody that's like saying, to be less of that. I mean, I'm highly sensitive, and believe me, I have friends, clients, people that utilize that. Yeah. But then when I have a highly sensitive moment just for me, it's like, oh, we don't want any of that. You know, put that aside. I'm like, no, if you're going to harness it for one thing, you got to embrace all of it.
You have to take it at any time.
Yeah, and we need it. So I'm encouraging women, or anybody that like really has a lot of feminine energy, like, oh God, let it out, like, share it. And when you were talking, I had some flashbacks of church communities and the awkwardness, men's meetings. I have a pretty intense marketing and ad background, event planning. Like there's so many things that I could do for a nonprofit community. Yes. And once I find a community, like I want to help. I want to use the skills that I've been given to help. And I've definitely experienced the we can't meet with you alone, male-female dynamics, which I'm like, are you kidding me? It's so offensive. Like first of all, please, I'm not going to jump on you, minister, pastor, whatever. I'm sure you're a great husband, but I'm please.
If you're married, and then it's kind of like, well, why does that have to be? If you are a married man with a family, why? And I'm very curious because I've been challenged. I've been faced with this a lot lately as I try to reach out and try to help. Like I have so many skills, so much that I can offer you, and then it's kind of like a wall that I keep hitting. And
you're like trying really hard. To help them, and you're bearing all the burden of trying to give that help is on you because they're making it so awkward and uncomfortable and making you feel all these weird things like I'm doing something
wrong. I shouldn't have to think about.
It's so stupid.
It's rough.
I think I'm going to share this. We need to put this out to some ministers because honestly, this is a real thing that you're doing, and this is why people like us are not sitting in pews on Sundays.
It's just very hard to connect, and I've been to places where it's just like I'm very big about leadership, and I'm very big about the way that you lead. That's how the rest of your following or your people that work under you, that's how they react to you. So when you have a person that does not know how to relate on any level. How do you expect people to come in from the streets? Like if you're here planted in Los Angeles to reach the people in Los Angeles, how do you expect people to know God or come to know God if your messages are not preached in love and if you don't come down from the pulpit and shake a hand or two? I really, really think that compassion.
Hear their stories. Hear their stories.
That's why I feel like these mega churches, I can go on about this. Mega churches I feel like are never meant to be because it takes the relationship out of it. It's just a Sunday morning transaction that happens in people.
We don't need more sheep in the world. We do not need more sheep in the world. Like right now, what's going on in this world right now, we need people that can lead and do stuff about it. Like Flint, Michigan still doesn't have water, guys. Come on, that's the United States. Like we need people that can stand up and do stuff, but not just be told that how you're supposed to feel about something and that's too big of a problem, we can't solve that. Like that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
It's just a reform or something, and I'm just trying. And I just what I like to do is equip just normal people on how to just know God for themselves, so that they can be that change agent if they don't see anyone else doing it. Because sometimes you have to just be that person that you don't see. So that other people can take up that and oh, she did it, I can do it too.
Agreed.
It's a lot.
Agreed.
This can be a whole other conversation.
Are we preaching? We're preaching
now. Say
amen. Amen. I love it. Any other story? I talked about the one I think is most damaging for me has been enough. That language of enough, not smart enough, pretty enough, creative enough. That word is just needs to be blown up with. It's a terrible word. It's a terrible word. You're never going to be enough. Actually, I'm never going to be enough.
We're not ever going to live up to anything. And any expectation.
But the celebration is the journey, not the
not the end goal.
The thing that you're trying to get. So I've had to read. I wish I could just delete that word out of my.
Just delete it. And I think a story that I have had to unlearn is just to not take everything so seriously. I feel like I was always the world is crashing around me, and because women are just automatically just more sensitive, we feel and we just feel more, and that's okay. I love being a woman. I love loving people and having the capacity to do that. So there's nothing wrong with experiencing all of it. And I think the lie that I feel like a lot of people can tell themselves is that they can't experience failure, they can't sit in that and learn from it. They can't experience being emotional or really experience going through a breakup. I have to hurry up and find someone else, or I need to go out and drink.
And take time to feel that.
Take time to really feel your feelings and to be present in all of that, because it makes up your story.
Yeah.
It doesn't take away from it.
I agree, and I think the other force that's at play right now is there's so much trauma in our news system and our media and entertainment. Like it just like the themes of movies and shows just keep getting more intense, and I don't know if we were meant to process all of that, and yet we do need to process all of that. That is the whole thing that we're talking about. That is our story, like how we relate to things. But if you let stuff kind of build up and don't deal with it, you know, you end a relationship, you get in another one, you don't like stop to go, what was my role in that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, this happened more than once, you know, what is the, what's
That's
the
my
reason?
biggest pet peeve with people, by the way. When they don't identify their own role. When you have a girlfriend that's like, I'm mannered this, and they're telling the same story from story to story, and I'm like, sweetheart, you might be the common denominator.
Yes, I'm like, this is not by mistake. We
No.
need to take us. So it's just like experiencing all that. And I think when we had our phone conversation, you talked about how social media is so on demand right now that our brains are not even functioning in a way that allows us to process anything.
Yeah.
We're just microwave, 1 minute, 1 minute videos, quick here and there, and we are not processing, so that just causes trauma.
Yeah, that you eventually have to deal with. And you know, there's many studies that people will say that that's what actually causes some of the cancers and the things. Like that emotion is powerful. Our mind is really powerful.
Very powerful.
That gets stored somewhere, you know, and then it manifests as a physical pain that now you got to take drugs for. You know,
and then we can talk about that too. Drugs in itself. Okay,
yeah, that's not my favorite topic. All right, so. Because now I know where we could go. We'll switch gears. So one of the things I like to do on the show is just to show that any given time how we're relating can change. The circumstances can change. One of us can get a phone call and we're not present in the room. And the best way I can do that is just ask a random question. You ready?
Yes,
all right,
I'm ready.
So they're silly. You can ask me one too. We
We can
do. We've got enough time here. Let's see. I'll try to get one that I've never drawn before. The box is working with us, girl.
Yeah?
It's here with us.
Okay, what's the question?
It says, which of the world's problems would you most want to solve?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's a good question. It's right on topic.
Which of the world's problems would I most like to solve? I would solve I guess I would like to solve, I don't know if this is a thing, but parenting. I would love to solve that, because I feel like a lot of our childhoods a lot of our lives stem from our childhood. And I feel like if our parents were either, you know, taught how to parent, or how to create good eating habits, or how to create what does a good nuclear family look like? Because a family, when you parent well, that's love. And psychologically, when your parents don't mirror what you're supposed to have mirrored, when you go and you're showing your daddy your dress and he doesn't pay attention to you, as a girl, you then start to look for that in later stages in life. And only God knows what that looks like. That can be a whole spectrum of things. But when your parents aren't mirroring back what you need, when they don't give you the love that you need, that's when we have the misconceptions about race or police brutality. When there's no love, when a parent can't say, if someone looks different from you, that doesn't matter. You know, if someone speaks a different language or has an accent, that does not mean that they are less than us. I was actually babysitting a young girl, and her parents said she was of a different race, and she's like, you know, my mom tells me that my race is better than everyone else's race. And I was like, she's so young. And I understand that you should really build your children up, and they should have really healthy esteem. But it's, you know, how do you parent well? And I think that parenting just stems from love. Like, it doesn't matter if you were raised in a foster home. What is love? Like, restoring love, I feel like it all stems from love.
Yeah, I would piggyback on that and just say that we don't put enough emphasis on relating. Like we're not taught in schools how to have conversations or how to relate or ask questions when people appear to be different, and how do we find our likenesses? How do we come together, you know, to work together? So I would say, like there's just not enough emphasis on that, and everything. Most of the things that we're dealing in this present time are a result of something that we did learn as a child, because we're so impressionable then.
We're so impressionable.
And we don't get to explore that, because we're just like, that's what you're told to do this, learn this, whatever. And then you got to unpack it as an adult and deal with it. If you can,
or notice that you need to.
But if we had more emphasis on relating, then maybe we would all do better, and we would also care more about people in other countries not having water or our food, or living in a place where they have a corrupt government and their life is threatened every day. Like, we should care about that.
Relating to another human being. I think just, and like that, I don't know if that's just a love epidemic of just an absence of love. Is what I would I would change.
Yeah, me too. We're on it. All right, you want to give?
Yes.
So you see the box there?
I would love.
I'm probably going to get a goofy one. I just know it. What is it?
How much would you have to be paid to spend a year in jail? And maybe what would you do?
I don't know how much. I can't put a value on that. I mean, I would say the only reason I'd want to spend a year in jail is to break that system apart. I think the absolute cruelest thing that people can do to each other is put them in isolation. And there's lots of studies around like someone being in isolation for over a period of time, and they use that as a punishment in jails. And then if they do have a chance to be rehabilitated and come out, they're not the same.
Nope.
If you've been in darkness or out of human contact or not being able to talk to somebody, that does do something to your psyche, and I think it's horribly cruel. Horribly cruel. So if I mean, I don't know about how much to pay, but if I could do work on that and just like show, like even a person, I mean, lock me up and I won't be the same person after a week in isolation. You know, and what does that look like to come back from that? Like, it's horrific.
And I think even like I'm so passionate about the rehabilitation part of just the reintegration, because I feel like we are failed at that point. You know, you throw someone away and then you throw them back into the same place where you found them. You expect them after how many ever years to really try to get a job when you can't, when you put things on applications that target them. And then you expect them to make a living. You know, why not just go back to the people that accept me? People who know me, who accept me, instead of going against the grain.
There's no reason for them to
go and try to make anything. It's just,
I agree. I think it's a bad system. All right. Well, those were really deep questions. The box has a mind of its own. It's kind of godlike because sometimes it's like, you guys are doing good. You're really talking, like, well, we'll keep you here. And other times it's like you need a break, and it's a goofy.
You give a goofy one.
I get a silly question. So I feel like it did what it was supposed to do. Thank you, box.
Yes, it was good.
It was good. All right. So last thing that we do here, actually, there's two more things that we're going to do. One is heart swells. So I ask each guest to just think of somebody that really deserves a shout out, that you don't express enough in a deep, meaningful way, like how important they are to you, what they've done for you. My goal here is to show it's not so scary to share deep emotions, and if we're doing it, like, maybe it will inspire someone that's watching to go and call somebody, or set a time to actually say these words in person. And I will always say it's not a text; it's a in-person meeting, eye to eye, or potentially a phone call,
Skype,
if you're across the country. But do you have a heart swell that you would like to give to somebody? Does someone come to mind?
Yes, my sister.
Okay.
So my sister, her birthday is coming up on Friday, May 18th. She is 1 year younger than me, Candace. I hope she said that she's going to tune in, so maybe you're tuning in. I don't know if you stayed in. But she is literally my heartbeat. I call her my heartbeat and my headache, because she's everything in between. She's everything a younger sister is. That when you think of a younger sister, that's what she is. But she just is so inspiring, and she is my number one. She's my number one cheerleader. We've been through life together, so she knows everything about me. And so to have someone that knows you completely and still love you, that's very, very tough, and very loving. And I am so deeply appreciative of her. And so I just want to say, Candace, thank you for everything. Thank you for listening to me complain, listening to all my crazy ideas, listening to all of the what ifs, all the doubts, all the fears, all of the, hey, what do you think about this? I just think God really, really, when he made me, he's like, I need to give you Candace. And I'm so incredibly thankful that he would bless me with someone so incredibly loving and so opposite of me, that you balance me so well. So I am just so blessed to have you in my life. and you inspire me by working like 48-hour days, just going for your dreams, and you are inspiration. And I'm so happy to just be a person that God has given you to just be in your journey. I'm so thankful for that. So that is my heart swell. Thank you for being an inspiration to me and many, many other people, and just cheering me on and listening to all my crazy ideas. I just love her so much. Yes, it's so good.
It's so crazy how giving someone a compliment or shout out actually is a gift for you too.
Yeah, it's a real gift.
We just don't do it.
Yes.
Like, we don't do it enough. So I'm glad I can see you getting all excited. I'm like, yes, she's getting the gift too.
Yes,
I love
it was really good.
Sister Hartswell.
Yes,
yay.
Sister Hartswell.
Okay. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I'm so charged right now. So the last thing we get to do together is I try to issue a social challenge of the week based on what we talked about.
Okay.
So it's just something that somebody could try, like do a little exploration with themselves. And so we talked about stories. I mean, yes, you could ask the question, you know, what potential stories, you know, do you just hit it all the time and it's just not working for you anymore? And you know, try to rework that or tell it in a different way. What else, does anything come to mind what we could encourage people to do?
I would say even if you are a native here, I think that also can be a lonely space. So I would say if you're new or you've been to LA or your area, wherever you're watching, if you're new to your area or have been there for years, I would challenge you this week to really go to an event by yourself. Let's do that. Go to an event by yourself and turn off your phone. Leave your phone in your car.
Oh, girl, freak it to the choir.
Yes. Leave your phone in your car or turn it off.
Yes.
If you're expecting a call, turn it off. Go to an event by yourself and be completely present.
Yeah. So now what just came up for me in that is tell your own story. So yes, going to an event.
And then tell your story.
Yeah. Well, going to an event by yourself without your little security blanket, the phone in your pocket, is actually you rewriting your own story. You're going to write a new piece of your story in that experience. So the social challenge of the week is like, you're going to tell a new story. Because you're going to go somewhere, you're going to experience something new. You're not going to have your phone to interact with people. And then you're going to go home and process and unpack that.
What that looks like. Because you'll learn so much about yourself.
I love it.
So much about yourself.
I love it.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I'm super excited. So if you guys have any experiences, I would love, I don't know how you guys, if you can drop comments, I would love to see what people's conversations look like.
I'm going to share, so your, I think your Instagram handle is on the screen right now. So you can find her, you know where to find me at Relate with Steph. So if you take the social challenge, of course, let us both know.
Yes.
And when I archive the show, we'll have her website and where you can get a hold of you on social media. But yeah, this is a good social challenge for all of us to do. I'm going to do it. I think I should do it.
I haven't done it in a while.
Yeah, I haven't showed up anywhere in a while by myself. So
without my phone.
I'm going to take the social challenge too, and I'll let you guys know that I took the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. I really enjoyed this.
It was good.
I feel really so much connection to you. I can't even tell you.
It's just a connection, a soul sister.
But we would never know.
Yeah.
Like we would never know if we didn't take the time to do this.
And show up.
That's right.
Because I could have been scared and be like, you know what, I'm nervous, I'm not going to show up.
I'm not going to do it.
But
you did. I'm really thankful that you did.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Well, there's got to be a part 2 to this somehow.
Yes, there will.
We'll figure it out. So that does bring us to the end of the show. Sometimes I just tell you guys, I wish you could feel how I feel. I've got a little bit of goosebumps. Just really feels great to connect with another human being and really listen to their story, and encourage you guys to do that and make that your story too. We have 2 things to talk about right now. May 31st, Thursday, in this space, you'll actually get to be on this carpet. We're doing a public shared experience where we sit in a circle and we just go deep. You know, we connect in a meaningful way, and so you can come to that. You can meet me. You can be on this set with me. That's May 31st. Information about that event is on my site at stephaniemichelle.com. And next week, I have this lovely man. His name is Desirel Lawrence. He and I are going to talk about names and labels. He's got some really interesting stories, how he's played with his own names, experimented with names, and that's going to be a really delightful story conversation too as well. So join me next week. And I sign off the show every week with Relate with More Curiosity. You like that?
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So that's
Relate with more curiosity.
Relate with more curiosity. Have a great week, everybody.